We have to start doing this banter into microphones too, because it's just so cute.
It's true. Are we on? Are we recording?
Yeah, everything's
This is
recording.
Okay. You saw your naked body from far away.
I did. So I, as I've mentioned, do some personal assisting, and I was house sitting.
I was naked.
I was naked. This is true. I was house sitting for my boss, who has this like really lovely space, and she's got this big mirror that is like way deep into the bedroom, but you can see yourself all the way into the bathroom from it.
Okay.
So I was naked in the bathroom and caught a glimpse of just like my whole body from like really far away, which I had never.
Yeah.
I just don't think I've ever seen that before. I don't know when I would have been naked and far away from a mirror or a window or
your own reflection.
Yeah, maybe there are photos from that far away as like a small child.
Yeah.
I don't know, but it makes it look like you're in a movie.
Yeah, it's
because that's kind of the only time that you see women's bodies from far away. They're like jumping into a river or whatever.
Right.
And it sort of eliminates all texture or
and
all of the little details.
Yeah.
All the things that are so familiar to me because I see them from the distance of my eyes to that part of my body.
I didn't mean that you have little flaws, but I just know when you're close up.
I have lots
you
of
just
stretch marks.
Yeah.
Like I have a lot of.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, I hit puberty hard and fast at 11 years old.
Okay.
And,
11.
I got my period in 5th grade.
No
Yeah.
way.
I think it's from drinking poor quality dairy.
Wow.
Because there's a bunch of hormones in
really
that. Yeah.
Okay.
And
that's early.
That's my
so
theory.
I'm close. If Eloise is in 2nd grade, I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
I was like 13 or something.
I think that's a little bit more normal.
Okay.
So there was like a very brief stint of time where I like had boobs and was tall.
Okay.
And then everyone else caught up and I camped out at 5'4".
Got it.
But I have all these, I have like lots of stretch marks all the way around from widening and getting tall fast.
Wow.
And they've always been there.
You got a great figure.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You nailed it on that.
Well, when I saw it in that mirror from far away, I was like, oh, I would look beautiful in a movie in a waterfall like those other women.
Well, you're in LA. They might be casting for a naked waterfall in the Distance Girl.
2 LA casting directors shooting this very specific scene.
Yeah.
If I could approach the set from elsewhere and be at the river and
no one would even know it's you. They would just be like, that's a beautiful little silhouette. Who is that? But all our podcast listeners would be like, that's
Layne. She looks so good.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations. I'm congratulating both you and your husband today. Her husband got verified on Instagram, which we're all really excited about.
We're all really
that's
excited
a hard thing to do.
It isn't just an unexpectedly and inappropriately hard thing to do with an outsized impact.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't need to be as impactful as it is. And
but he got it. So shout out.
Congratulations, Connor Churland, if you'd like to listen to any
music. He's a musician and you would like it. And he's funny, very funny.
Yeah, and cute. Oh, he's so cute.
So cute, but taken.
Yeah.
He's taken.
Cute but taken.
But you can enjoy his cuteness.
Yeah, you can enjoy it. Anyways, this is Jess Hover.
Thanks, guys, so much for listening. My name is Jessica Hover. This is my friend.
I'm Layne Churland, and this is Very Good Enough, a podcast from Very Good Mothers Club.
Well done. Like, I don't know who made this podcast.
I got scared for a second.
No, that was perfect. Layne and I, we are becoming closer friends. So that's really fun. I think that adds a charm to this podcast experience, because what you don't know, Layne, or maybe you do know, maybe I told you, the internet for sure doesn't know, is that at the beginning of 2022, I was offered a very sizable amount of money. I thought, wow, this money could change my year, to do a podcast on a different platform. And then it was kind of a weird thing. Like some back and forth happened. We were looking at the contract. I basically got to the point where I was like, okay, cool. The lawyer has okayed my contract side. Here you go. And then by the end of it, they were like, oh, actually, never mind. And so then that was weird, because I got myself to a point of being like, okay, well, I'm going to do this podcast. And then it was gone. And then fast forward, when did you ask me to do a podcast with you?
August.
Is Layne better than the money I would have received? Absolutely. Have we made any money on this podcast? Not yet.
No.
Maybe by now, maybe by this episode.
That'd be so cool.
That would be so cool.
6 weeks from now?
Yeah.
We could have made some money 6 weeks from now.
Yeah. Maybe one person will want to sponsor an episode.
Sure.
It's totally possible. But I just think like that would have been a podcast I would do by myself and not with you, not here, not with them like this. So I'm really thankful. You just never know. Some things feel like they're so special, and then they pass and you're like, I'm not sure. And then you meet Layne.
I'm pretty special.
Yeah, you really are.
Thanks, man.
Yeah. So today's episode, we're talking about.
Super good question. We just recorded a podcast episode. This is the full transparency episode. That's what I'm going to call it.
Perfect.
We just recorded the previous episode and then sat on the sofa and started to have sort of a follow-up conversation to that episode. And then it was like, dang, what are we doing here? Which happens a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of the time we sit down and like chat and then we're like, ugh.
That should have been a podcast.
Didn't record that.
Yeah.
So
we just put on the headphones, grabbed the mics, and we're just having a follow-up conversation to the last podcast episode. Yeah. And I think it's going to be a good one. So stay with us, okay?
Yeah. So we basically took a deep breath and then sat down. And what I said was, all of life is just your experience of life. That's like all it is. Like there is a world out here that is physical and concrete and like a lot of stuff happens. Like I'm not saying that this doesn't exist or that it's, I don't know, whatever. But there's none of it has any meaning. None of it is real outside of like us experiencing it.
Right. Like we give it, our experience gives it the meaning. Yeah.
Yeah. All that my life is am I experiencing my life? Yes.
Yeah.
So whether it's like I'm hustling to make a super ton of money at a job that I do or don't like for this reason or that reason, like none of that part is the meat of life. The meat of life is how I feel while I'm doing that.
Yes.
Like what, and I don't just mean like my up and down emotions. I mean like the bulk or like the grand total of my experience is what my life is. Yeah. Like how I spend my days and what my eyes see and like what my senses take in and what my mind lands on and then ruminates on. All of that is just like me living in this body for this super brief period of time here in the world where I've found it at this point in time. Like I'm just this little ball of experience. And I talk about kids this way a lot.
Yeah, you do.
This is my entry point to explaining a lot of things, whether that's to parents or to other teachers or like really my own perspective on them is I think that the effective way to guide a child is to be acutely aware of the experience that they're having all the time. But I don't always reflect that back on myself in the way that like I run myself through this world and like guide me through my life and my choices. Yeah. I don't always drop into my own experience of what is happening. I act like the things that are outside of me are more real or more potent or like I owe my time to them or my attention to them as though they have more like material than just like me living my life and my experience.
Yeah. No, it's so important to think about this stuff. It maybe is a little heady, but like I was talking to someone yesterday about their job. She's working a job, very respectable job. And yet she is miserable. The hours are terrible. The coworkers are not amazing. I mean, they're probably fine people, but they definitely don't have a good like work culture. So this woman was offered a job at another location and more money, different location, but the location itself is not as respected. So basically worse reputation at that place. And I was like, so why wouldn't you take this other job? It would be better hours, more money, actually a nice, like location wise compared to your house, pretty good. Help me understand why you wouldn't take it. She's like, oh, it doesn't sound as good to work there. And I was challenging that because I get it, because I need people to challenge me too in this.
Me too.
It's like, that's so right. You're right. If you tell people you work at the place you currently work with the job you currently have, that is very respectable. But you are living inside of that really miserable. Like miserable is, I'm not even being dramatic. Like this person is struggling to go work the other job with better hours, better pay, closer to home, but it sounds worse to people. But you inside of your experience of your life would be happier. Isn't that more important?
Yeah.
And so then it just brought us to this place because she was like, yeah, you're so right. It's weird that I could care so much about how it looks to other people that I'd be willing to suffer daily just to look better to someone else. Or I could go live a life that's actually a more quality experience, but the reputation aspect is so negative.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
It just makes me think like we really need to check our own hearts, minds, bodies, like make sure there's alignment between our insides and our outsides and like what is actually going on right here, because we might accidentally get caught up in like, some people call it like the ego, basically the part of you that's so consumed with the stuff of life that isn't actually your best
the
self.
Story.
Yeah.
The part of you that's telling the story.
Yeah. That we accidentally get out of alignment and we miss it. But if we like quiet ourselves and come back to, okay, where am I now? How am I now? How is this going? What do I need? What would help this moment? And you figure out, oh, I'm really sleep deprived. I'm also like pretty friend deprived. I could really use a social interaction. I'm spreading myself very thin. I'm doing these things. But I feel like there's just something about coming to yourself and really figuring out what is going on here. And then what is the story that's making all of this happen? Why am I living this way? Oh, I think there's no other options. Okay, is that absolutely true? Are there no other options?
Right.
Oh, there might be another option. I just didn't believe I was allowed to have another option. You know, there's so much that goes into understanding that your experience of life is very important. Yeah. And the more you can come into alignment with yourself and your values and your desires and your outside matching your inside, like all of that wholeness, the better that's going to be for even the people you love. So if you're very driven by, well, I want my kids to be happy, I want my spouse to be happy, I want my work life to, I don't know, those people to be happy, well, probably everybody else is going to be much better off when you are the best you can be. And and I guess a follow-up thought, something I was thinking this morning, we often try to be perfect. Like we try to just put on a show because we think we'll be loved if we do that, or we'll be liked if we do that. But the problem is we don't feel loved. So we could be perfect putting on a show and we could be loved. Like people would be like, I love you, Jessica, but it's not going to hit my heart because I don't feel known. Yeah. Because there's this block. So like the distance between who I really am and who you guys see me as, if that's a big distance, you can only love the me that is out here, the one that I'm showing you. So then this whole part of me doesn't feel loved, and that's a broken system.
Yeah, even if real you peeks through, because I think it does, and people love you, got real love came at real you through that system, you can't metabolize it. Because the way that it's coming in toward you and the way that you feel about yourself, you actually think that love is not for you. Yeah. Like the good stuff is not for actual me. And therefore I put on this performance, like, right. Even if the nourishment came right at you, you'd be like, oh, no, bat it away because I actually don't deserve to eat real food, eat real love food, let it all the way in.
That's right.
Yeah.
Ooh,
okay. So 2 directions, 2 thoughts. One of them is, if you need a place to start, ask the body. Anytime you feel a spiral or a panic or separate from yourself or in a different, like out here, anytime you're like out here away from that body and you feel the anxiety or the whatever, find the location of that feeling in your body and start to ask it questions. Because this is, as we talked about pretty recently, like this carrier that you're in is the only way for you to experience your life. Any pleasure, any novelty, any creativity, everything comes in and goes back out to the world, like through this body. So it contains all the information that you need. Start there. Start that conversation. And then the second thing that I just remembered I was saying on the couch before we started was I was going to talk about Jerry Seinfeld.
Jerry Seinfeld. Yeah, say that.
Because I was listening to, on my way to meet you for coffee one time,
Yeah.
I was listening to the Armchair Expert interview with Jerry Seinfeld that in our timeline just came out, which strong recommend. Go listen to that.
Yeah.
What an unbelievable and somewhat unexpected voice of wisdom.
Yeah.
I this is an aside, but I just think that comics are the prophets of our time.
Oh my gosh. They have helped me so much.
So much.
You can even take okay, I'm just going to say something. This is mostly for the people who are believers of Christ.
Sure. Okay.
The ones who are like, you got to be careful how you talk because you can't be edified by like naughty words. I know. Where Layne and
We're not ready. I'm not ready to share the fullness.
What I just want to say is just on a very personal level, I have been edified by some of the raunchiest comedy. There's just something so powerful about laughing so hard. And there are times when I'm laughing where I'm like, I don't know if they're allowed to say that. I'm like, am I allowed to listen to this? But it's so funny.
It's so funny.
Oh man. But I know also that's personality, because have you ever been around unfunny people? They exist in the world.
Yeah.
People who
don't. What do you mean? Everyone. There are so few funny people in the world. Have I ever been around unfunny people? Do you mean all of those people on the street right now?
All of them.
100% of the people you can see right now are not funny. It's only you.
Thank you. No, sometimes Sean and I like will leave an environment and just be like, oh, it's so stupid. But just like, oh, that was interesting. Like none of them had a sense of humor. And it's almost like we're just taking it in the way you would go to a zoo and be like,
sure.
They have stripes. We're like,
look at that. Look at those ones over there. How they huddled in a corner. Do you see?
Like, did you notice they took everything literally, and anything we said that was an obvious joke was just taken with like a flat, like, what do you mean?
I have a cousin like that who is the most literal person I've ever met in my life, and she's phenomenal in so many ways. Yeah. I've never made a joke that she hasn't been like, I don't quite understand what you mean. She's taking me so serious, like so earnest that I'm like, or even I'll say just like,
you can't help but like freeze up. And like,
I'll say hyperbolic things like, well, all of our dads are huge liars. And she'll be like, I wouldn't classify my father as a liar, I don't think. Like, okay. I just mean that they really tell like big fun stories that you can't trust because they're not true. You know, like a lie. And she's like, well, I don't know that I would qualify that as a lie. I'm like, all right. We're not going to relate to each other on this note.
Yeah.
I so wonder if that's going to be in the podcast.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, this is just fun. But back to comics. I really appreciate a good comic.
Me too. So I appreciate comedy, but then also to listen to comedians speak becomes very interesting, because people who are able to, the people who have honed the craft of withdrawing a laugh from a group of people have like a very particular grasp on social behavior and words and thought and like the energy of a room, and also have withstood so much painful failure. Oh God, so much pain. We all think we would die from being embarrassed when like two people see us do a thing, and they like stand in the midst of like, they're lighting themselves on fire over and over until they figure out how to like do the thing of like, I will have this laugh.
Yes.
Anyway, I think the perspective is often very profound. Yeah. There are plenty of comedians who are not worth your time.
That's probably why
a lot who are amazing.
No, but that's why you like me so much. Because one time in 7th grade or 6th, I dressed up like an alien. I'm so embarrassed. But I'm telling you, because I just remembered. And I did like a comedy, stand-up comedy for my public school. I'm so embarrassed. I hope no one remembers that this happened. But it was like a full comedy sketch that my mom helped me make. What? And I don't know why I'm remembering this, but you just said how scary it is and how much you fail. And it is terrifying. But
whatever made you do that is probably the reason that I like you so much. Yeah,
it's probably
whatever
this type
of
in there. the alien in me. Yeah. Anyway, so Jerry Seinfeld.
Jerry Seinfeld is deeply wise. Yeah. And gosh, there were so many things from that interview that were so powerful. But the thing that I was bringing up right now was he has this bit about how like nobody likes anything, actually. Like, nobody actually wants to be anywhere because nobody actually likes anything. And he's very funny about it. I'm going to go ahead and
watch it.
Not spend any time working on Jerry Seinfeld's bit. But, it's just this thing of like, nobody actually really wants to be here. We're all just doing the thing that we're supposed to be doing. If we really got down to it, we'd all be like, this is stupid. And we would all go home and do the thing that's nice. Yeah. But the interviewer, Dax Shepard, in this case, was like, I have thought about that bit so much. I think it's so funny, like giving a lot of praise for that. And then he was like, actually, I was thinking about this the other day because my kids were at a wedding and they were climbing on these rocks and it was like over and we had a long drive home and all the adults were like, we got to get out of here. Like, we are done. And these kids were like, I just love this so much. We just can't wait to get to the next rocks. And he was saying, what if it's that kids like everything and want to be everywhere, and that's actually the thing that's different about us? Aww. Like the distance between adults and kids is that we're like, next thing, we're like full of these stories and they're just like loving it all, just totally inside their own experiences, because
that's cool.
Actually, developmentally, they have to be like, they're still developing
like that. Even like the way a kid is pretty fearless. Like we talk about the respect we have for comedians who get up and they are fearless. I mean, I'm sure they're full of fear, but they act in a way that aligns with that fearlessness. Kids often, if they are with the parent they feel safe with, I noticed, or just the adult they feel safe with, they do really brave things, like dance in a public place, or like, I don't know, just go up and just say some stuff if they feel safe with like their person. Yeah. And I've often thought that's the kind of courage that we all probably once had, but then we get like old enough to be really aware of everybody else's opinion, and it's kind of scary. It'd be so cool if we could tap back into that innocent confidence that's just like, oh, you might not like me and that's fine, you just might not be my person.
Yeah, I'm just not valuing your experience more than my experience. Right. I'm just here in this body feeling the urge to climb on that thing, or the urge to say whatever. This is what's on my mind. I feel this thing come inside me and I want to twirl, want to eat snacks. Yeah. I want to lay on the ground, put my feet in your face. I need socks right now. Whatever it is, the thing that just like comes over you.
Penguin socks. Jules is obsessed with penguin socks. And she's like, I want my penguin socks. But it'll be at a time when they're not needed for the thing we're doing, but she really wants them. Wants.
This is why I'm saying that 2-year-olds are telling you the truth.
Yeah, that's
and that like
true.
No one ever tells the truth.
Yeah,
again.
That's true.
It's my sort of fatalist way of talking about it.
Yeah, I'm thinking as you're talking that Sean maybe is more tapped into his childhood essence than the rest of us, because we were in a small group and the president of our international nonprofit was speaking. And it was a small group. There was, maybe like 15 of us listening. And Sean's very tall and very recognizable in a crowd. And he was fast asleep. and then, to my horror, my best friend in the room, she also was asleep. And then Sean's best friend from growing up, who was also in the room, was asleep.
Why was everyone so tired?
No. So to me, and I am the people pleaser. So I am front row listening as if this man is saying the most interesting stuff I've ever heard. I listen
as though it's my act of care to the speaker.
Me too.
I'm like, don't worry, I'm here for you.
Yeah. Yes. That's why unfunny comedians are hard for me, because I will laugh so hard even if they're not funny. Oh, no. But then a real funny comedian, I just like bask in because it's real. Yeah. But okay, so afterwards, Sean ends up having to like write an apology to this guy, because the person who invited the guy to come speak to us was really horrified that all 3 of these people are sleeping. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, Sean, are you feeling so bad that you fell asleep? Like, because I'm younger too. At this point, we're in our early 20s, and I'm like, I can't believe that happened. Are you?
We're gonna get in so much trouble.
Yeah. Are you feeling so bad? And he's just like, so nothing. And he's like, honestly, I'm like, how could you be such a boring communicator that 3 out of 15 people slept through it? And in the moment, I'm like, oh my gosh, am I allowed to think those thoughts? But that's very much like just childlike, like living in your experience. I'm here. I'm supposed to be listening to this person. A nap is less boring than the things you're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Amazing.
I have a long way to go to be like real childlike in that way. I probably
Yeah.
will never sleep while someone's talking.
No, me too. But
Yeah.
that might be a value.
Maybe
I might actually value like being respectful to people who are.
but we might be the
speaking to
old
me.
women that surprise ourselves and just fall asleep.
Mm-hmm. You know what I don't want to do is I don't want to be a young person who's saving all of my like animal self for when I'm an old lady. Who's
Okay.
like, when I'm an old lady, I'm gonna pick my teeth in public. When I'm an old lady, I'm gonna be so mean.
You're
I'm
gonna
gonna
be
sleep
naked.
wherever I want. I'm gonna be naked. Like I don't want to save
You want to do
that
that
feeling. Yeah, I want to experience my life now.
Yeah.
What if I'm never an old lady?
now. Oh.
Right?
My
Like
gosh.
we gotta live these
If
lives,
you leave
man.
before you're an old lady, I will be so mad at you. No, just kidding.
Appreciate that.
I will.
As we've discussed, I'm
Yeah.
newly committed to living here.
Yeah.
Here in this
Right.
world.
Oh, I know. I'm
Yeah.
so glad.
Thanks, me too.
And here I am too.
Mhm.
We're going to live long and be healthy.
Yeah. Should we answer a question or should we just like kick it?
yeah. Well, the question that was asked was actually just about books. Do we have any books that we're reading that have been particularly good? And I always am reading books. That's something that I do for fun is just, I love to read. You love to read.
I love to read.
It's another thing that bonded us, but,
Yeah.
so I'm reading books right now. I don't know if mine are the best ones. Okay. You go first.
Okay. My first question is that I would actually love some feedback about how we structure this. We try to answer a listener question every week. Sometimes we just talk too dang long. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
True.
Okay. But also, do you guys want to hear like Antonia from wherever asked this question? Like, is that of value to you
Yeah,
guys?
do
You
you
don't
want
need
the
to do it
name?
right
Oh.
now, but like if
Like,
people,
I'll tell you her name.
oh no, I just want to know like, does anybody have preferences about this? Like, do y'all have
Yeah.
feelings about how this podcast is rolling? Like, hit
Yeah,
us with
that's-
some comments or some
Yeah,
DMs
it's really good.
because I'd like to know.
It's really good.
Books that I'm reading right now. I am still reading the Women Who Run with the Wolves.
Oh, yeah.
Which we mentioned in the body image episode, largely because it's so thick, but also because it's actually like for me, it's nourishing me like a spiritual text. I'm not religious anymore, but like I'm taking it in like I used to take in the Bible, where it's like sometimes I'm just like tearing through pages like, gosh, this is so amazing. And then sometimes it's like I can only get through a few paragraphs because it's like reading my history back to me.
When books are like that, when they speak to your soul and they get right inside.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Okay, I need to read that one too.
Yeah, that
Okay,
one's a
so you're
strong
reading that.
recommend. I'm reading a book called Everything Now, which is it's hard to describe actually. It's about LA and like what LA is. It's on the premise that LA is like its own city state, like how there used to be city states like Carthage or Sparta, or instead of like nation, but before nations there were like central city hubs that sort of sprawled out. And it's written in a way that sort of feels like the city. It's like layered and a little bit chaotic, and you start over here and then it kind of comes back to itself later over in this other spot. So it's odd and cool, and I'm kind of new to this city and feeling really in love with it. So it's that's been a very fun one.
Is it recently written? When? Oh, nice.
Yeah, I think it might even be 2022.
Oh, whoa. Okay.
It's
like,
fresh.
the city changes so much too. I wonder.
Yes.
A book like that is going to be very in the year probably.
Yeah, it's very much not a history. It's very much more of like an essence.
Interesting. That's
It's
so cool. Okay.
It's really cool.
Favorite book like that you would definitely recommend because you loved so much?
Yeah, I love books. How about, can I give you some children's books? Can I give some children's book recommendations,
sure.
actually?
Certainly.
Oliver Jeffers is my very favorite children's book author and
Really?
just like fine artist across the board. He's super excellent. I give the book Here We Are to every new parent, and without fail, it makes everyone sob.
What? Why have I not heard of this?
My favorite of his books is called This Moose Belongs to Me.
Really? Okay, I'm going to look it up right now.
Yeah. John Clausen is my other favorite children's book author. Both of these authors are very wry and very brief and very interesting, and the art is really good. A lot of children's books are written for adults. They're to make the adult cry. They're like this interesting idea for grown-ups writing to grown-ups as though they're children's books, and that is not useful to children. They don't care. They don't care about so much stuff. They don't care. And these books are quirky and weird and like very from like kind of the way that a kid would think. So John Clausen, I Want My Hat Back,
Okay.
and Oliver Jeffers.
Oh my gosh, this is so perfect.
Those are my faves.
I am going to get those as gifts for people.
Yes, this is a strong, oh dang. It's
I
Christmas
know,
in real
I
life,
know.
but in your life, it's
after.
not.
But that's okay. Birthdays come all the time. That's perfect. Okay. And any like favorite books of all time?
I have favorite books of all time. I love Peter Pan, the like actual book.
Yeah.
So beautiful, so poignant, so sad. A lot to chew on and grapple with. There's a Donald Miller book called A Million Miles in a Thousand Years.
So good.
That I have returned to a lot of times.
That one was really good.
Yeah.
Yep. I love that one. There's a book about faith that I love. It's called Abba's Child, and it's written by a man who
Is that Brennan Manning?
Yes. Did you ever read it?
I read Ragamuffin Gospel, and that was very important to me.
Okay.
When I was a Christian.
I don't remember if I read that book, but what stood out to me about Abba's Child was I love the humility and like he doesn't talk to you from a place that's high up. That's like, I am better than you, or he basically comes like, I've messed up my life over and over and over again. And every single time I was met by love. And to me, that's the most powerful faith that is like gets inside of you. And it's like, I don't know, it's a faith that feels like it can meet a normal person on the street. There's a certain kind of attitude in the faith religious world that's like, you can be met by love if you follow all of this criteria and look this particular way and act in these particular things. And this guy's take is like, I actually made all of my worst choices that I could think of, and I woke up to love. And then the next day I woke up to love again and again and again. And that to me is so refreshing.
He's a beautiful writer too.
Beautiful. Is he Catholic? Was it a Catholic?
I think that he is Catholic.
Okay.
I
don't know.
He may have been a Catholic.
Yeah, maybe
and
he
actually,
was.
This feels funny to give a recommendation as like no longer a Christian.
Sure.
But my very favorite book when I was a Christian was Father James Martin. He's a Catholic also. That's what jogged my memory. It's called The Jesuit's Guide to Almost Everything.
Really?
Yeah, actually, I think I still have it. I'll give
Oh my
it to you.
gosh, I would love to read it.
But it's very beautiful.
You're such a sweetheart for even like, she's
it
so
was
cool,
great.
guys, honestly.
It was great. And these are beautiful thinkers. And
Yeah,
though I don't necessarily like adhere to the explanation of the worldview anymore, it's not like I've lost all value for any of that stuff. I want some of it to stay integrated.
Yeah. I see that in you. I know that to be true. The current book I'm reading is called The Way of Integrity by Martha Beck. And it's probably why lately I keep talking about like the alignment between your inside and your outside, because she's talking about integrity, not in the like moral way of integrity, but integrity as in wholeness between what's going on inside of you and what's going on in your world, and like how you communicate yourself and what's actually happening in you. Cool. It's really cool. She's been controversial to some people. To me, not at all. I really appreciate her and like her, but I will just say that some people have strong feelings towards her in one way or the other.
Sure.
And then Codependent No More. I've been reading that one. I've read it already, but I'm reading it again, kind of slow and steady, and it's really excellent, especially if you find in your family or close relationships some unhealthy patterns that you can't seem to get out of. This book is very helpful for that. And then my favorite children's book or author, or like, it's Eloise's age, she's 7, is an author called Enid Blyton, and she's from England. And it's funny because her books were my favorite when I was little, and then my mom sent some to Eloise, and now she's loving them. And they're all very like whimsical, fantastic, magical, like about little like fairies and gnomes and elves that live in trees and go up to the top of the tree, and it's like all these little worlds that they experience. It's really sweet. So yeah, that's what I love.
Wow, that was so fun. What a fun question.
That was so fun.
It's so fun to talk about books.
That was so fun. You know who else is fun? You guys. Thanks for being here. We love you a lot. We treasure you and think a lot about you, and want to make sure that the stuff we're creating here actually serves you. So if there's anything that you want to hear from us or see from us, will you let us know? And will you do us a huge favor and review this podcast? Yes. Layne, where do they review the podcast?
Anywhere that you're listening to the podcast. So Spotify, iTunes, those ones primarily. But I mean, if it's Amazon or Stitcher or Google, wherever you're listening.
I've never even heard of Stitcher. So
podcast platform.
Okay. Well, if you're there, will you please review us? It helps. It helps in a lot of ways. One of the ways is just it helps us to look like we have valuable things to say. So for a new person coming in, they would be like, oh, okay, I'm going to listen to these people.
And it's actually very helpful to have reviews trickle in over time, as opposed to like when something new comes out, you can feel like, dang, I missed the time when it would be helpful for them. But actually like now is a really helpful time.
Perfect. Okay. We are grateful for you. We hope you have a really good week and we'll see you soon. Bye.
Bye.